Good morning, Taiwan, and thank you for sharing your Friday with us. I am Louisa Lee, here to keep you informed and entertained. 欢迎收看 Louisa 报报，每天给你最新最有趣的新闻。While pro-communist supporters around the world are still losing tears over the death of their late leader, Kim Jong-il, his son Kim Jong-un, as the chosen one to rule North Korea, has been proclaimed as the supreme leader of the party, state and army on the second day of the memorial ceremony. 在第二天的告别式中 ，North Korea 称呼金正恩为最高领导人，宣布他正式成为接班人。也有很多其他国家的人也为金正日哀悼。
North Koreans living in the Chinese border town Dandong gathered to pay their respects to late dear leader Kim Jong-il. Kim's funeral procession in Pyongyang has dominated the news in Beijing. While many around the world are anxious over the transition of power to the inexperienced Kim Jong-un, some in Beijing express hope for the future.
Their country is not taking the economic mode of reform and doesn't open up, and the news reports say the country is impoverished and not as rich as our country. I feel pity for them. I hope his son can take over and lead North Korea to better development.
In the Japanese capital Tokyo, around 5,000 people attended a memorial ceremony organized by the pro-Pyongyang Korean community.
We are all crying and mourning his death. Nobody forced us to do this. We came here voluntarily, and no one made us come here.
Tourists in South Korea visiting an observatory overlooking the border area expressed compassion for the suffering of North Koreans. Kim Jong-un is the third member of the family to take the reins of the unpredictable and reclusive state.
And now to other news. Despite the banning of ivory trade, experts say that 2011 may actually be the worst year for elephants, with 2,500 being slaughtered for their precious tusks this year alone. 根据最新的资料，今年走私象牙的数量居然是12年以来最多的一年。很多非洲国家仍然会盗猎象牙卖到亚洲。
The International Wildlife Trade Group, Traffic, said that due to huge demand in Asia, more elephant tusks were seized in 2011 than in any year since 1989, where the ivory trade was banned. Year 2011 is described by the group as a horrible year for elephants, with 23 tons of ivory seized, representing at least 2,500 elephants being killed. Trade in ivory was banned in 1989 to save elephants from extinction. However, illegal poaching continued because of huge ivory demand in Asian countries such as China and Thailand, where some believe ivory has medicinal properties. Traffic said the increasing ivory demand reflects both the rising demand in Asia and the increasing sophistication of the criminal gangs behind the trafficking. Environmentalists say that some southern African countries whose elephants' population are booming allow people to sell ivory. However, the decision has fueled the illegal trade. In response, those countries, including South Africa, Botswana, Namibia, and Zimbabwe, deny the allegations and argue they should be rewarded for monitoring their elephant populations.
And now turning to entertainment news, are moviegoers harder and harder to please now? With that said, let's take you back to check out the biggest films and flops of 2011, including the overall movie ticket sales that have hit a new low for Hollywood in recent memory. 今年快要结束了，不过回顾一下，今年的 Hollywood 票房却比去年少了5亿美元，到底是怎么呢？带你一起来看看。
We've kept him alive so that he can die at the proper moment.
This year, we have seen moviegoers flocking to theaters for some huge blockbuster films. Leading the way was the final chapter in the highly profitable Harry Potter franchise, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2. It was this year's top earner, taking in $1.3 billion globally. Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2 was followed by Transformers Dark of the Moon, which took in $1.1 billion, despite the departure of starlet Megan Fox, who was dropped from the film. Johnny Depp's Pirates of the Caribbean on Stranger Tides grossing over $1 billion, while the animation flick Kung Fu Panda 2 earned $665 million. The latest edition of the Twilight franchise, Breaking Dawn Part 1, took in $652 million worldwide, followed closely by Fast and Furious 5, Real Heist at around $626 million. Even with negative reviews from critics, Bradley Cooper's Hangover Part 2 was the highest-grossing R-rated comedy of all time, with a worldwide earning at $581 million. However, despite the fact that several blockbuster films have helped lift the overall ticket sales, Hollywood still suffered from a huge decline in box office in 2011. Domestic ticket sales this year fell by nearly 5%, which is around $500 million. And not all big-budget films succeeded at the box office. Starred by 007 actor Daniel Craig and Harrison Ford, the hybrid sci-fi western Cowboys and Aliens fell flat, with a net gross at around $9 million only. The flick earned 44% approval on Rotten Tomatoes, with an average rating of 5.6. Ryan Reynolds' Green Lantern found few fans, as its net gross was merely $19 million for the $200 million budget film. The film has a 27% approval rating on Rotten Tomatoes, with an average rating of 4.6, while many found the flick noisy, overproduced, and thinly written. Other big flops of 2011 include Conan the Barbarian, Natalie Portman and James Franco's Your Highness, Steve Martin, Jack Black, and Owen Wilson's The Big Ear, and Trespass, starred by Nicolas Cage and Nicole Kidman. Even though this year's box office numbers were down, analysts say that the movies should not take the full blames. The weak box office figures were partially because tickets are getting more and more expensive, and audiences are turning to DVDs, or they're just simply watching the films online. In addition, there were too many family flicks this year, pushing out teens and young adults who typically pack the movie theaters.
And how are you spending your New Year's Eve weekend? If you don't have any plans in mind yet, then you may want to consider these hot flicks of 2011.
Puss in Boots was already somebody way before he met Shrek and his crew. The cat bandit goes on a swashbuckling ride to steal the golden eggs with the companion of the street-savvy Kitty Softpaws and mastermind Humpty Dumpty. Antonio Banderas reprises the character of the sword-fighting outlaw who turned into a hero at the end of the day. Hollywood remake Hollywood Budget. Directed by Oscar-nominated filmmaker David Fincher, the adaptation of the Swedish novel and film of the same name, The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, costed $100 million to make. Starring Daniel Craig and Rooney Mara, the story centers around the mission of a journalist in finding a missing woman with the help of a young computer hacker. Johnny Depp plays an American journalist in The Rum Diary who leaves his New York life and accepts a job in Puerto Rico to write for a local newspaper. His journey just gets more complicated with some rum, a pretty lady, and a scandal in the mix. Japanese comedy A Ghost of a Chance starts with an unusual homicide case in which a man is suspected of murdering his wealthy wife. However, he does have an alibi, a 421-year-old ghost who can prove his innocence. Starred by Eri Fukatsu as the attorney Emi and Toshiyuki Nishita as the spirit, the duo teams up to persuade the prosecutor to give the ghost a chance to bring out the real truth.
見えなくて当然なんです。幽霊なんです。こんなものはトリックだ。俺は何とかしよう。言いやり。彼は確実にここにいます。あなたは裁判というものが分かっていない。
六兵衛さんがいたからここまでやってこれたの。
お父上は必ずそなたを見ていなさる。我々は敵ではない。真実を求めるという意味ではむしろ味方同士だ。
跨年前的周末有很多精彩的电影可以选择，有北美票房冠军的《邪猫剑客》，还有畅销小说改编的《龙纹身的女孩》，强尼戴普主演的《最后型男日记》，以及日本喜剧片《鬼压床了没》。
And all those films are in cinemas today. And that is all the time we have for this edition. I am Louisa Lee and want to wish you here a Happy New Year in advance as we count down to 2012. Enjoy your weekend ahead, and we'll see you officially back here in 2012 next Monday.